Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live with Kyle and Alex. Alex, what's happening?
I love that greeting. It was kind of like we were at a wrestling match or something. Good evening. Get ready to rumble. Yeah, things are doing great over here, man. We are doing great. We have a great guest. And, you know, before we talk about our guest here, I want to say, hey, man, I was supposed to get my car serviced and didn't do it today. It was so hot out there. Maybe I'll do
What's wrong
it.
with you?
Oh, yeah. Hey, the heat is what's wrong with me. That's
Funny you
what-
say heat. Arizona's reaches record heat today.
Yeah.
115 in Tucson
Ooh.
and 100 almost 120 here in Phoenix, where I'm located right now. Death Valley reached 130 degrees.
That's why they call it Death Valley. Yes, absolutely. But hey, tonight we have somebody I am so happy to talk to. This is exciting for me. It really is. We have Vivian Rue, who is a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. And I don't think enough people that need to talk to therapists talk to them. So we are going to talk to her. I'm sorry, not to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vivian Rue, how are you? Licensed clinical social worker and therapist. How are you?
Hi, Kyle. Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me on your show tonight.
Absolutely.
Hey, this is a thrill for me, buddy. I want to find out about this. So you're a licensed clinical social worker and therapist, and you're in Sierra Vista, right?
Yes, I'm in Sierra Vista, Arizona. We're a little rural community, about 77 miles below Tucson.
Right. But you cover all of Arizona, is that right?
Yes, for now I am. I just opened up a private practice, and with telehealth services, I'm able to expand my services to all residents in Arizona.
The expansion is always good. Okay, now, I've been wondering about this. I'm sure I'm probably not the only one. What exactly is therapy? I mean, what do you do as a therapist? I mean, what does that mean?
Alex, that is a great question, and let's just dive in. So I'm going to start with what therapy is not. So therapy is not like talking to a best friend. I know that sometimes with how it's depicted in movies, you see characters laying down on couches with a therapist doing the
Yes.
Alex, I can't talk to you.
as a therapist.
Yes. You're right.
It's not a place where you are given advice, be told what to do, not a place for you to be disrespected or be judged in any way. And also, it shouldn't be a place where you're pressured to tell your truth, or sometimes where you might be going in and you might be hearing more about the therapist's life than what you're coming in for.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
No kidding. You know, because that's the way Hollywood depicts it and all that. Well, Hollywood, whatever the script says is the way it goes in Hollywood, you know? That's life.
So when you're really going in to see a therapist, it's actually a professional relationship where you might be going in to be seen for things that you've been holding inside, where it might have been affecting your thoughts, your emotions, behaviors, but it's treated through communication and relational factors. So there's somebody sitting on the other side of you, kind of providing the safe and objective and neutral space for you. I always like to describe or use a driving scenario. So when folks come and see me, I always tell them, you're in the driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat. So you tell me where you want to go. And I might point out like, hey, we're coming up to fork in the road. Or, hey, look, like there's a curve coming around, or what do you think, we'll see like after we come out through the strive? So it's really entirely about the person and what they want for themselves as far as their goals, and strictly for changes. So changes to their thoughts, their feelings, their behavioral pattern. And therapists are really trained in listening skills and having really good bedside manners, so we can hear more than the words that they're telling us. We can also read their body language and read in between the lines.
Wow, that sounds involved.
Your answer there.
And you can bring all that out and you can read all of that. That is so cool. That is so cool. I love it.
How do I find a therapist?
That's another great question. So I would typically say start with word of mouth. If there's somebody else that you know that is seeing a therapist, you can ask around for recommendations. However, keep in mind that just because a therapist was great for a neighbor doesn't mean that that would be a great therapist for you. I would also, suggest, if you have a primary care physician or a doctor, they usually coordinate and know the community as far as who they can refer to and for what concerns. Another place to check is if you have insurance. You can go on the webpage, and sometimes you can find a provider, and you can just type in your location, and you can select what your preferences are. Do you want to see a male therapist? Do you want to see a female therapist? What specialties are you looking for? There's some online directories for therapists. Another one specifically is Psychology Today. That could be a resource. And then finally, good old-fashioned Google. Search.
Good old-fashioned Google. They know it. Google does everything. Google may wash the dishes for you. It's amazing. Okay. All right. Let's say I'm doing a search for a therapist or something, and I keep seeing all these letters behind their names. I mean, do I have to choose one of those with the letters behind their name? And what do some of these letters mean?
Aha, the alphabet soup.
I love that. That's what it is. It's alphabet soup, and you think, what is it's not even ABC, it's NQOW. The world is something like that. Yes. What is that? Yes.
And you're right. Sometimes there could be multiple,
Yes.
stuff after.
With commas between them and stuff. I'm like, so how do you navigate that?
So I get this question frequently, so I can break it down for you. So psychiatrists are actual medical providers. So they go to medical school. They can be doctors or nurse practitioners that specialize in diagnosing and treating mental or psychiatric illnesses. They are also licensed to prescribe medications. So people who are interested in using a medicinal approach to manage their symptoms would see psychiatric providers. Psychologists are folks who are experts in psychology. They study the human mind or human behaviors, but they provide diagnostic psychological testing. So strictly for assessing and uncovering issues that you might not realize that you have. So if there's neural psychological issues, or for kiddos, oftentimes maybe school districts are wanting a psychoeducational evaluations to really understand what that person's need is. Social workers, which is me, focus on the well-being of the individual in society. So what our emphasis is, we approach the person, their whole, who they are within themselves in the context of the environment that they live in and how that environment might be contributing to problems in their daily living. We are very sensitive to cultural and ethnic diversity and value the importance in human relationships. So in addition to clinical care for individuals, families, and groups, you can also find social workers that are helping groups, organizations, or communities around social justice or advocacy work.
Mm.
Licensed professional counselors, they have a master's degree in counseling. They're licensed and trained to work with individuals, families, and groups treating and diagnosing mental, behavioral, and emotional problems and disorders. We also have marriage and family therapists where they're also trained in psychotherapy, but they broaden from the traditional approach. So instead of just focusing only on the individual, they look at the nature and the role of other individuals within their primary relationship networks. So they're looking at couples, marriage, or family system. And then finally, we have independent substance abuse counselors, and they're counselors who help folks recovering from drug or alcohol abuse and their families through difficult times. So that's what is in the alphabet soup.
That's quite a soup.
Yes.
Yes, it takes a pretty big pot for that soup.
And also it could be pretty overwhelming for people who don't have that information or understanding to even beginning, and they're doing that search to find someone.
Absolutely. Right.
So once I've done my research and I found a therapist, now what happens? What's the next step?
Okay, so you might want to consider questions that you want to ask. Now, keep in mind, it's really about the fit for you. I tell folks, just like how you have a preference of wanting to take your car to the mechanic, right? Or who you want to have your hair touched and styled and cut by. You also want to afford the same preference around, because you're going to talk about very intimate and personal details. So the first thing you want to do after you find prospective therapists is when you make that initial phone call and have your list of questions, is asking if they're accepting new referrals right now. After that, then you want to know, do they see adults? Do they see family? Do they see kiddos? You might want to ask, what kind of practice do they have? Do they work in a solo practice? Do they work in a group practice? Or do they work in a clinic? Another question I think folks have the right to ask is, it's like an interview, just like how you go to an interview and you're a candidate and you're being questioned about your suitability for the agency that you're applying for, right? You can ask the therapist, are they familiar and have experience addressing your concerns? Another question is, where are they located? Are they near you? Is the commute, are you able to commute to where they're at? If they have hours available for around your needs, the availability of appointments, right? Because, they might be accepting referrals, but the appointment could be like in a month or 2 months because they have a waiting list going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what's their fees? And if they accept insurance, and then what you can expect with, from the therapy sessions.
Wow, that is a lot. That stuff
A lot of it.
people would never think about. People never would think about those type of things. Those are very good things that people should know. Okay, let's say I want to talk to somebody. I mean, I really want to talk to somebody, but I look at these prices and they're like kind of outside of my budget here. Give me some suggestions here. How can I deal with that? Now, people, how could they deal with it?
Alex, that's such an important point there. I'm glad that you brought that question up. The first place I would start is your insurance benefits, right? When you make that first call, you can ask them if they accept the insurance that you have. If they don't accept your insurance, don't stop there. You can still ask for options around out-of-network benefits, or even if there's an option through your insurance, if you could do something called a prior authorization or a single case agreement. So what that just means is if the therapist is not in network with your insurance, you're pretty much asking the insurance, hey, I found a therapist and I'm wondering if you can give me a prior authorization so that way I can continue care with this person. And you pretty much have to have a reason for this. So it could be something like there's no providers in my area, or if you used to see this therapist and you want to continue with them, you can say, I would like to continue my treatment with that person because of my needs. You can also go back to the therapist and ask if they offer any sliding scales. And finally, you can also search for resources in your local community or state. So for our Arizona folks here, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 211 Arizona hotline. You can either go online and it's almost like a plethora of a resource directory. So not only can you access mental health resources, if you need access to food or clothing or housing assistance, then you can also find that information there. If you don't have a computer, then you can also call them and you'll be connected to somebody who will be able to provide you that information.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right.
That 211 is really a nice bit of information. I never heard of that. I don't know that a lot of other people have heard of that. So has that been around a while, 211?
Yes.
Really?
How long?
Oh, I don't know that information. I know that I was been in Arizona for over 10 years and I was aware of 211 at that time, but also too, that's statewide. It's a statewide resource. Keep in mind, there's resource agencies that could provide a community directory. So I would definitely do a search or check that out, or even 211 may also point you in the direction of a community directory strictly for your county.
A lot of information.
It's a lot of information. People are
Right
diving
on 211.
I feel like you guys are going to have like a brain load right here.
Exactly. People would always, use the term like, hey, I'm going to give you 411 on such and such, because 411 used to be information, but now it's the 211.
Oh yeah, that's right. I do remember that. Is 411 still around?
I don't know. I don't know. Is 411 still around? That is a very good question. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. The things you learn from a social worker therapist.
Well, how's we come on live with Cal and Alex, right? In this day and age, since the world is basically on lockdown due to COVID-19, what if I want to stay away from the office until I feel safe?
Yes. So we have, that's a valid concern for safety, and also with the things that are going on or the consequences that we're seeing because of it. I brought up that I'm doing services through telehealth. Telehealth also goes by, you might hear teletherapy, telemedicine. It's a secured HIPAA compliant, or it's a HIPAA appropriate video conferencing. So it's very much like this platform where I can talk to Kyle and Alex, and we're not in the same room, and we're doing this show, and we're all together, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
So the same concept where the provider is in one location and you're in another, and folks can use their phone, they can use a tablet, their laptop, or desktop.
Wow. Technology. Technology.
Where's the magic of that?
Yeah. So some of the benefits with telemed is we didn't have to get in the car and commute to do a show together, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. So if people are in a rural area where the closest, therapy office is miles away, it's, telehealth provides the convenience for that. If there's severe weather alerts going on, it can also address that. Convenience around scheduling, like if folks are strapped for time because they have a very busy schedule, if it's hard for them to, if they have like mobility issues, it's hard for them to physically like get everything together to get, to get ready to leave the house to go to an appointment. If there's issues with money, like maybe they don't have enough money to fill up their tank to be able to go to the office. Childcare. We know with COVID, kids are home right now, right? So
yeah.
Telehealth also allows where, people who have childcare needs to be able to get connected and to get the support that they need. This is a really cool one. So let's say if you've been seeing a therapist and like you guys are doing it, right? And there's progress made, but then you have to move. Oh man, right? So you might be moving to a different part of Arizona, or you might be on a work-related trips, at another part of Arizona. You can still connect and have your appointments. And then another neat one is you might be able to connect to a provider where they can get you in sooner because you're able to access providers who are doing telehealth services compared to somebody in your community that aren't accepting patients, or they might be having a long waiting list.
Okay, yes, that's amazing. Okay. Also, hey, if therapy is a form of self-care, why aren't people using this more if it's available?
So this question gets me super passionate. So you might see me get really hyper with this subject.
It's important to you. We love it. Let's get it out there. What's important?
Okay. So for me, I think that the number one reason why folks don't use it is what they were taught in the first place about asking for help.
Sure.
So if you think about it, we come in the world, we're babies, right? We're totally dependent on someone to care for us in order for us to survive, right? We need to be held, we need to be fed, we need to be guided, we need to be kept safe, right?
Right.
Somewhere along the line, we were given this other messaging or tape to run with when we think about asking for help or needing support. So then people might be bombarded with thoughts of, I should be handling this on my own. Man, I'm weak. I have to keep things private. Wait, outsiders aren't going to understand. And one population or group of people that I look up to and admire are the helpers. So if you look at our first responder, especially at this time now, our healthcare providers, teachers,
Right.
caregivers,
Yes.
parents, right? Their thought is, I'm the helper. I
Yes.
should be the one helping. I'm not the one who needs the help, because of the messaging and the stigma
Mm.
that we're given growing up.
That is so true.
Along with that, the second thing, and it goes hand in hand with the messages that people are given about asking for support, which is a natural instinct, is mistrust and stigma, right? Especially if you think about men, like should men go to therapy?
Oh,
Right? There's a stigma with that.
Yes, it is. With men, I can tell you. Oh my God, you said something there. Oh my God, I'm sorry. That is so true.
I think back to your previous guest. I think he was a veteran, raising awareness for the veterans, right? He was doing the walk.
Right.
Do you remember that? And he brought up like the stigma and like the needs that people who are either in the military or veterans are in need of. And you have that. You have it could be a cultural thing too, right? So people from certain cultural groups, they're taught some of those messaging of, you keep it private, you don't trust outside people, you can't trust the system. And then right and then there's fear about like confidentiality, like where's my, like I'm gonna tell this person and it looks like they're writing things down, where's my information going?
Yes, that is
So that's a huge one, is the stigma. Then you have what we touched on before, which is the access to care. Not everyone can afford it, or it's not accessible to them, or if it is, then the quality of it is not available to them.
Oh my gosh, especially in certain neighborhoods.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, from the hood,
And honestly, it's not even their fault. It goes back to, like resources and availability, and going back to like systematic issues. So, and I think that's the benefit of telehealth opening up, is people are able to access providers from Scottsdale or providers from Tucson or other places in Arizona. Other reasons could be like, hey, I went one time and I saw a therapist and it just didn't work for me. So maybe they were a kid and they were told that they had to go, or they really had an experience where they felt like they were being judged. Other people, it's just, it's not the right time for them. And then you have people who might think, what good is talking going to do? Like, I need action, or I think it's always gonna be this way.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If a viewer is struggling or feeling suicidal, how can they get help?
So if you're out there and you're struggling and you're feeling suicidal, like I want you to know that you're not alone. And I know it sounds cliche, when there's suicidal thoughts, it's really a medical issue. So the first thing you want to do is either call 911 if you are having an emergency psychiatric emergency. The second thing is, I don't know if you guys know of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So it's a national hotline. They're open 24/7. So if you're up 3 a.m. and you're struggling, you are not going to bother anyone if you're going to call them to reach out and seek support. Okay,
Actually,
so that's
Alex, I think Buddy Walk was talking about that too.
Oh yeah, because that's why they're walking for the suicide, for the veterans who are suicidal and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's going, but I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. But there are other suicide hotlines out there too. We also have your own state, and I know Arizona has specific local crisis hotlines depending on counties. So if you are in need of those, you can still call the national one. They can get you in the right direction, or you can go on my website, and I have a resource tab on my page where it has all those numbers for you.
Sure.
Okay, wow, I love this. Hey, how can the COVID-19 affect stress and mental health?
So COVID-19's effect on stress and mental health, the world as we know changed so much, and it's still constantly changing. So you're looking at mandates changing, you're looking at school going either, to distance learning. Are they going to go back to face? What's that date going to look like? There could be changes to people's jobs. People not losing their jobs or not being able to make income because of the restrictions put into place. People could be worrying about their health or the health of their loved ones, and also too the loss of connection or support from the people that they usually hang out and interact with and get support from.
Mm-hmm.
So stress from this can cause changes in sleep. It can worsen health conditions that people already live with. People could be having increased use of alcohol or substance. And I don't know if you heard of the quarantine 15. Do you guys know what that is?
15?
Kyle's laughing, so I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't, but
so
I'd love to know.
you gained 15 pounds because of the quarantine.
15.
I love it.
Viv, I love you, Vivian. This is so quarantine 15. I love this. That I've never heard. I'm going to use it from now on. I'm using it. That I've definitely taken that one away. Yeah. Yes.
So you have some folks who can respond more strongly from the stress because of COVID-19. So it could be like if there are people who are higher risk for severe illness from COVID-19, are kids, because they're not able to process it and understand it and rationalize it in the way that we can as adults. Yeah. Caregivers, you have caregivers with extra demands, now in addition to worrying about finances and figuring out childcare and being, doing the distance learning for their kids is like added pressure on them. Our first responders and healthcare providers, professions who are caring for people through this crisis, people with existing mental health disorders, people who use substances, people who have disabilities and losses. So you have vulnerable people out there who are struggling even more so because of the crisis.
Yeah. And the children are really one of the huge casualties. Also, like you were saying, the first responders and everything, but the children, it just tears at my heart. But parents and they can't. How do you not hug, kiss, and love your children? How do you social distance from your children and don't absolutely love them Oh, geez.
And parents might be loving and hugging on them, but that's still like the children still don't understand
Yes.
what's happening, even with that support.
Exactly. That is so true. Yeah.
Do you think the parents see it?
I think it depends on what's going on with the parent. Every individual is different.
Sure.
Right.
Alex, you got any more questions for Vivian Rue?
Yeah. How can we get a hold of you, Viv? You are so, you have given, I have learned so much. This is no exaggeration. I have learned so much from you in this short period of time. And if people that really need to talk to you or need a social worker or something, if they don't call you, they are insane.
You're insane.
No, I am very serious. I have learned so much from you right now. And it's amazing. How in the world can people find you?
So you can reach me on my website, www.ryulcsw.com, or you can call me at my number 520-559-4976. If you have any questions about the information that we provided, and remember, it's just information. We're not recommending any medical treatment at all. You can go ahead and give me a call.
So do we have a graphic or something we can put up with that on it? But I don't know if it's on the normal, but anyway, I am just flabbergasted here with the information and the little small details that people just don't think about. It
Yeah,
never
they don't understand it.
in mind. Even something like the 211. Everyone talk about that blows me away. It's so
the quarantine 15.
Yeah.
I think you guys are just about the numbers, 211 and quarantine 15. Next time I come, I'll just throw out numbers.
There you go.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna remember that. That's funny.
You have definitely I've had a teaching lesson tonight, and hopefully a lot of other people have. But again, I just want to make sure everybody knows how to contact you and get in touch with you, because your information has, really made me anxious. It made me nice. That's really good.
And I appreciate you guys for having me on, because like you said, this is very important stuff. Yeah. And the people who often need this information don't have access, or they're not pointed in the direction where support is readily available for them.
Sure.
Exactly. And I think people really need to be pointed to this video, to this show, because a whole lot of people need to hear this. I mean, the so many little things that people just don't know, should know. So people should hear this, watch this video. So it should be pointed to it. And can I get that information one more time in case we don't have a graphic here? You can.
It's on there, Alex.
It's on. Oh, I didn't see it. So it is.
I think it's because it's under Kyle's side and not your side.
Okay, all right. So
I'm just kidding.
It may be, but I just wanted to make sure it was up, because I think people do need to talk to you. I really do. But anyway, you have been extremely informative, and it was really nice. I've learned a lot. I've really learned a lot. Extraordinarily, thank you for being on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Totally a pleasure. All right. So, hey, Kyle, what's next? What we doing next?
Everything is next. Friday night. It's a brand new show. Actually, it's kind of a show. We're doing hopefully doing a brand new interactive show. It's gonna be called Live with Kyle and Alex. Be on the show. It's conducted all through the videoing platform Zoom, where you can come on the show with us, hang out, have some fun, and ask us a few questions and get to know us a little better. So that's happening on Friday the 26th.
I forgot about the Be on the Show. That's right. Okay, fabulous.
And then Monday we have a script writer and a horror specialist. Paul Lowe and Rachel Goddard will be joining us Monday night, and then Hannah Hayes will be joining us Friday night of next week.
All righty.
Tune
Absolutely.
in to Live with Kyle Knox every Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. right here on YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And that does it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks a lot. Good night.
All right, everybody.
Bless.